Hey everybody, back again with another one for you. Your friendly neighborhood comic book artist, Brad Linder, hanging out with you. I'm going to be doing a cool one today. As promised, I'm going to be sharing this over with the page so we can get started, and then I'm going to be doing Spawn. So we're going to hang out and have a good time for a few minutes. Let's see if I can get this shared, and think. There we go. Okay, making sure that's shared with the page and everybody can see it. Alrighty. So, my spawn is a little different than most people's. It's more of the traditional from the original Todd McFarlane design, but it's got a little bit of a kink and twist here and there to add a little edge to it. I mean, it's my take on it for sure. And just wanted to kind of get that done because of the fact that I said I would do it, and I went off and did Thor instead. So it's just like, okay, today I'll make it up to him and go ahead and cut that in. But, yep, that's where we're at. Today has just been crazy, man. I'm waiting for, oh goodness, Amazon to approve a few things that I have going on. And I started pushing that really, really hard to get that going. Not going to push it to you guys very hard at all. I might mention the book here and there to just, because of the happy-go-lucky type of person that I am, I might share it with you. But other than that, I'm keeping these pretty straightforward with the marketing things because I like them to do their own thing and be organic and sell as they sell and whatever. I don't like forcing it too much, especially to my comic friends. But yeah, got a bunch of new stuff coming out. It's really, really cool. A lot of new comics as well. And I'm very, very pleased with that. Very pleased with it. Now, I'm going to cut in something that a lot of people don't do. I'm going to cut in Spawn's nose. And the reason for that is because I like to add in the idea or the silhouette that his mask is a morphed version of his face. And it just gives it a little bit of a more sinister look when you do it this way, in my opinion. I haven't been a big fan of wrestling for many, many years. I grew up in Texas, and we were a huge wrestling household, wrestling and baseball, and that was the big thing. I mean, we were Cowboy fans, of course, but it was primarily baseball, and my cousins and stuff would definitely be into the wrestling and things like that, and it just depends on which one it was and who was hanging out at the time. But the masked wrestlers and painted face wrestlers that we have now, it pretty much all started with the influences of other cultures and like Mexican wrestling and things like that. And then you had the themed costume stuff come in the late 70s, early 80s, and that's when everybody really took off with the themed stuff. And man, I tell you what, that Spawn's always reminded me kind of a wrestler in that mask look. I mean, I know that's not what Todd said that he designed it from, but that's kind of the feel it has. Heroes wear masks, and vigilantes wear masks and things like that to hide their identity so they can protect themselves. But in Spawn's case, he's hiding his face because of the fact that it's just part of his armor persona. So it makes a big difference. And I'm trying to get this as gruesome and grimly as possible without overdoing it to where it looks weird, because sometimes you can do these and they look gimmicky. But I just wanted Spawn to really pop out and look like the menacing character that he's supposed to be. Because I mean, a Hellspawn, you know, it's supposed to be in your face and rock it out, man, to where you cringe when you see him. And if it doesn't exude fear, if you go, oh, cool, that might be a problem if you were to ever confront a creature like this. You know, my idea of horror, whenever I see a character, I want him to make, just make the person that reveals, or that he's revealed to, that he reveals himself to, just wet themselves and run in terror. I mean, that's what I want to see. And I'm hoping the new movie closely brings that hell element into it and just really tears it up. But I don't know if we'll get that edge out of it or not. They tried that darker element in The Crow, and it didn't quite translate. I'm hoping the reboot, if Jason Momoa is still the guy on it, if he's still the one playing the new Eric Draven, I would really dig seeing it take a much darker turn and go more of a horror thriller rather than a superhero movie. I mean, that's just my take on it, but I don't know. I'm not Hollywood. I don't have a clue how they'll do it. I have great expectations and great hope, but we'll see what happens. We have to take it with a grain of salt because we don't know who's behind it. If it's a corporate creation or if it's actually, under the control of the director or whomever is in charge at the time. So we just have to wait and see. Now, I'm going to kind of do a crazy thing here with this one. I'm going to do a little bit of a Venom type of feel for him because I want it to get that dark and gritty look, but I want the blacks to be clean, and then I'll color that in gray. They used to do blues and greens for this part, and it used to drive me nuts. It's like, come on, man, stop that. It makes it look like the black suit Spider-Man, and that's why he got the, because he drew Spider-Man for so long. That's part of the problem in him looking like Spider-Man. It was the black suit look for the longest time, and people just didn't get that. And then when Greg Capullo came on and started doing the finishing pencils and the inks, and then finally took over the full pencils, it just changed the whole dynamic because they started coloring him gray and, for the highlights instead of the blues and greens, and it changed it immensely to what we have now, which I think they've gone back to a cartoonier style now because John Boy Mayer was on there for a little bit, for at least a couple of books. I don't know if he did the interiors or not, but I know for a fact that he did a couple of covers and won that contest. So, but I don't know how far his stuff went because I wasn't reading the book at the time. Because since Greg's left, I've been hit and miss with it. I feel the issues that I have for my collection, but I don't really read it hardcore like I used to. It's just a hassle and a disappointment now. So I support a lot of books and stuff, but I read very few and collect very few. But I got a couple of I was out running errands this morning, and I got a couple of old Hulk issues from the 1980s, the mid 80s. It was 83 through, I believe, through I don't know, something like 85, right around in there. And I guess I've just gotten nostalgic at this point because I've finally, and a lot of older guys have been telling me this for years. And I'm like, no, man, I love modern comics. And I'm just like, well, now I've reached the point to where I'm filling my back issues more than I am going after the new stuff. And I mean, I support new independent comics all over the place. You guys know that. But it's always interesting to see exactly when you reach that breaking point to where comics just aren't doing it for you anymore. and you start to get into the collector of the old stuff instead of following every trending new comic, and I hear that more and more that people are doing. And it's crazy, man. It's crazy. We got to reintroduce the market to a positive light, or else we're going to end up losing our comics. And the industry is starving for new material because of it. And I see stuff all the time come out, but it's just still, it's really weak, it's thin produced, and it's not 90% of it is just cookie cutter stuff. And we've got to get away from that and start getting back to core creation of comics. And that means basic fundamentals of creating stories, not that will sell an issue in the moment, but will sell the longevity of a character people want to follow. You know what I mean? There's a big difference. Like my comics at Firestorm, I want the legacy comics. I don't want to get, I don't want to produce a bunch of comics that nobody's going to read, or that they're going to buy one shot of and then disappear. And that's why I'm working so long on the comics that I am, because I want to make sure that they're of quality to that level. Granted, I do need to get into production just like everybody else, because I'm always preaching, independent comic creators, small press comic creators. If you're not doing it to where you're producing a comic book every month, then you're not up to par. That's why I had to get all these projects out of the way so that I could start doing that, because for the longest little bit, I didn't have that. And that little bit being 3 years, my own comics lagged a little bit because of that. And I've just got to get back into doing that, to where I stop doing freelance and stop pushing other people's stuff with my artwork attached to it, and start getting other things out there, because a lot of the stuff that I was doing just fell off the planet, man. It just never went anywhere past the issue. And it wasn't my artwork that was the problem, and it wasn't the writing. It was good stuff. I mean, it was stuff that I wanted to be a fan of, but the problem is production. Everybody starts squawking, well, we're going to do a book every 2 years. You can't do that and stay in the limelight of comics. You have to be monthly, you have to be there, and you have to make production, and so many people don't do that. So that's a big problem with the industry. Everybody gets lazy with it, and then they start squawking about, well, I got to eat, and I got to have a day job, and this, that, and the other. And I've touched on that before, but, we need to use people like Todd McFarlane as an example. Granted, Image isn't the best, doesn't have the best track record for treating their talent the best way, because they use a lot of indie people and indie money and small press books, and then they dump on them, and they're notorious for doing that. And then they get in bed with companies like Marvel and Diamond and things like that, and then they end up burning these talents and these bridges and can't get out of these holes that they put themselves in. But in turn, they're still the biggest standard for independent comics that we have to this day. I mean, that's definitely hands down the fact of the matter, because Eric Larson and Todd McFarlane stand their ground totally on their independent stature. And that's a good thing, because they're proof right there that you can go off and do this and make it happen without giving up your soul for the most part. Like I said, they've made some interesting choices, which I don't know the details of and won't blame anybody for. But when you're doing comics, you have to get in there and produce every single month. And that's something I'm trying to get to do myself around my marketing work, to where I can do it all the time, because that's the reason I had to do all the freelance that I did and drop every other project except for the couple that I've still got going on, and then move forward. And I suggest you guys do the same thing, because I see it all the time. I talk about it all the time. Don't offer $100 a page if you can't produce a book in a month. I mean, you shouldn't get high production quality and rates if you can't produce high production quality results. And that's a big thing that people are doing now. They're saying, well, that's the way small press works. No, it's not. No, it's not. These guys live by that example. You know, you go on and you check out Todd's work with, even if he's not the one doing it, he still started the standard that the book is going off of. You know, I mean, everybody starts squawking, you know, he hasn't drawn anything in years. Well, the thing is he set the standard for the first a good 20 or 30 issues before he ever changed that, you know, to where he wasn't involved. And he's still involved every single month in some form or fashion. Writing, editing, concept art, some of it. He inks a lot of these books. And a lot of people don't get the fact that he's still involved and needs to be, because it's just not the same as, you know, with an independent book that just goes out and says, okay, I'm going to put out a book. And then once every 10 months, they have a book come out and it's like, hey, we've got a new book. Well, who are you again? You know, so up your game a little bit. Up your game, up your standard, and go from there to where all of that comes into play. Now I'm going to lean this just a little bit into that side so that he looks angry. Ding! There we go. Cool deal. And then I'm going to go back and detail some of this stuff like everybody likes to see with the gnarly stuff, you know. The little gritty nicks and whatnot. But I'm going to work on this cape so we can progress this a little. Because I want to get this done so you guys can see it. And I posted, if you didn't see, if you're here, you probably did, but when I posted the warning, the 10-minute warning before I went live, I wanted to make sure that everything was in place, because I had a good 4 or 5 cards on there that I've got really deep into progress on, and I wanted you guys to see them because they're going in the final sketchbook, and I'm very pleased with them, very happy. I thought I was going to limit it to 175, but since I pushed the Kickstarter back because I want to make sure that everybody gets everything, you know, at the end of the month, and wanted to get some pre-orders and stuff like that going on with some of the special edition books and other hard prints and whatnot that I've got going on, and make sure everybody has availability to that, because it's not there without it. It's just not to the level that I want it for my Kickstarter. So I just wanted to give you guys that option and make sure it's done cool, you know? Make sure we're on the same page. I'm going to drop in the shadow here. Before we get to the gritty stuff, I'm going to fill all this in because I want to make sure that this card really pops like a traditional Spawn should. I mean, even though it's in my style, I still want it to show up in the traditional Spawn, you know, red shadow type of look and feel. I'm going to get down here on these skulls now. These are the skulls that go up on his collarbone, and the chains connect to. I want to make them a little gritty because they're supposed to be like rough carvings kind of thing. And I want them to have that look. I want them to look like little idols, you know, sitting there and be creepy about it. It's like, what is that? It's a creepy little idol. Don't touch it. It bites. And then we'll draw on these fangs. Sorry for the harsh humor here. Just play it along. Don't pet it. It's got teeth. So, anyway. Yeah, just carving these out. I want to have this under edge right here. Sorry, I changed gears so I didn't get carried away. And I want them to have kind of that bat wing thing, you know, as they're called, I want him to have that bat wing look. And I want this to go right into this nose right here. That's a technical term, right here. So we have that going on with the nose right up underneath there. And I want to grind that down a little. And then we're going to have the old spunny eyes up underneath there, which a lot of people like to draw these straight out black. But I'm not, because I'm going to have them glow like his eyes. They're going to glow. I think that's the first time anybody's done that. Don't hold me to it, because I'm not sure. But I believe that's the first time someone's done that. If it's not, then, you know, I don't know it. And I'm okay with that. But I would like to say that I'm trying to make an original piece here for you guys. Because I wanted to draw Spawn. If I'm going to draw him, I wanted to draw him to the extent where we could get some really cool leverage out of the image. And make that all happen. And I know these links are a little funky, and I did that on purpose, because I wanted them to be bigger and a little more awkward and gawky. And I didn't want to do the 80 links. I just wanted to do like 5 or 6 heavy links so you guys could see that connection. And I wanted to be a little beefy so we could have that going on. This bad boy is going to be a little gnarly. I like it. And tooth number 1, 2, and 3. There they are. Look at it. It's teethers. And I've been doing a lot of work today, and I'm cutting loose because of the fact that I can. So this is me, guys. This is how I do this all the time. I drive people crazy with my my sense of humor running amok. And I do that a lot in my marketing stuff too. So I believe if you don't make people laugh, you're not having a good time. And if you're not having a good time, you're not doing what you love. And if you're not doing what you love, you shouldn't be doing it. Just saying. So you want a real call to action, get out and do what you love and you entertain people with. And if you can cut loose and show your real personality straight up, you're doing what you need to be doing. And that's a cool thing, man. That is a way cool thing, man, because you need to be doing that and enjoying life. You can't be uptight and super professional all the time, because unfortunately super professional tends to lead more into superficial, and I don't like being fake. You know, I'm not the type to go off and say, you know, what you need to do is step 1 and step 2 and step 3 and then you're done. Yay. I'm not Martha Stewarty, and I don't do the whole, you know, nothing against Martha Stewart. I'm just not that type of coach in anything that I do. I mean, if you guys have listened to my podcast before, you know, and watched this show before too, I get out there, man, get a little crazy. But that's the way it's supposed to be. So now I know that's not traditional with the lineup, because normally his skulls aren't like this, you know, but I like them to be, I don't know, I just wanted them to be like little idols, as it were. If that makes sense. I wanted them to be like little idols. And I'm going to put in that drop shadow there because I want them to be a little thicker than that, because that one's pretty heavy. What I wanted to do is trim this one down for a shadow look. There we go. Dink. So there we go. Cool. Now we've got his capes in, for the most part. And there's the two skulls. I'm gonna go whip this in real quick. Pink, right there. Cape, cape, cape. I'm gonna go right over here. Now this is the back side. This is going to be off his shoulder because here's his shoulder right here. And this is the cape wrapping back around. And if Todd can get the same people to do the effects that did Doctor Strange, I think this cape's going to come to life like no tomorrow. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to that new movie. Not as much as the Venom movie, though. I'm sorry, Todd created both of these, and I gotta tell you, man, I'm way more on board with the Venom film than I am the Spawn film. Nothing against Spawn. I love the character. Great guy. Created him, and it's a cool, it's a cool concept. But I mean, out of the two, Venom's obviously going to be a bigger fan favorite, just by the character that he is. So, and if Todd or Greg, if you're watching this, no offense to you guys, because I still am a hardcore fan of your work, both of you. But yeah, man, for me, Venom's it. That is just, if I had to go Spawn or Venom, I would definitely go Venom. No offense, but that's the way it is, man. So, I'm sure people will like some of my creations over others. I'm okay with that. As long as they still like them all. One of the cool buys I got today, I'm going to change gears a little bit and talk about something else. And with those Hulk comics that I got today, I got a really cool, what was that? Saw something on the table. I don't know if it was dust or if it was moving or what. But anyway, sorry about that. Live. But yeah, I found some Eric Larson comics from Spider-Man and from his Savage Dragon series, which I just had to have. They were pieces that I couldn't fill my collection with. And they were in the first, I guess, 20 or so. They were from the first 20 or so run from Savage Dragon. And then I got a couple, I filled in like 5 or 6 issues of the Spider-Man series that he took over right after Todd left. Because Todd did to issue 13 and 14 with the Morbius. If you guys remember it, he did the Morbius run where Michael Morbius lived in the sewers, and Spider-Man was in the black suit. He put it back on to battle Michael to try to save him and bring him out of the sewer, and he ended up having an underground kingdom that led into the crossover with the Mole Men. Some of the underground guys that were from the Mole Men storylines, the guys that followed him, and it got really odd, but that was a great arc. And right after that, Eric Larson came on with number 15. And if you guys don't remember, it's a yellow cover, and it's got a beautiful Spider-Man and Beast swinging on it. Beast is jumping on one side and Spider-Man swinging on his web on the other. And it's a McFarlane style cover, but it's Eric Larson drawing it, and it's just phenomenal. And I got number 15 a few years back, and then on top of that, I picked up 15, a second copy of 15, and got all the way through the Sinister Six run through 23 or 24, and then I ended up getting another 5 or 6 issues after that, where it crossed over with various artists, and I was just like, yeah. And I paid like $8. So talk about just wild. There you go. I paid literally like $8 for them out of a dollar bin that I found, and I went up and the lady at the counter gave us a good deal on them, and I picked them up like no tomorrow. I was just like, yep, I'm buying right here, right now. Yep. And it was cool. It was cool. It's awesome. Now this is the old suit design. So we've got the white ribbon that goes around here on the outside. And then we've got the red patch right in the middle. You got the red band with the spike on it, and top of the red band right there. And we got the red cape. So this is going to be really cool, contrasting throughout the entire picture. So I'm excited about it. I'm going to put this as an underside here. I'm not going to black this out. I'm just going to put it as an underside to the cape. I wanted to do the same thing right here. And then I'll get my big digits out the way so you guys can see that. And right down here, I wanted to do another one. Dink. Like there's a big fold right there. Awesome. And now I'll go in and draw in the teethers. Teethers! Put in a little bit of a line right there. I don't want to do it all over because I don't want it to look, I don't want them to do the sequential thing that I always talk about. Don't do that. Accent, but don't do sequential. I'm going to put this one right here like that. And now what I'll do is I'll go in on these chains. I'm going to do something Eric Larson used to do when he made chains. He used to come in and make this bulky horseshoe shape like that. And then he would go like this. And that was it. And then he put a little finish line right there. That's chain. Dink. You got it. He put in this horseshoe right at the curve. Like that. Thicken that line up a little bit. And then he would come in and he would go like this and slash across. And then he would go over and accent the other side just a little bit to round it out. And he was done. That was it. Awesome deal. Done. Yay, chain. We like chain. This is one of the darker characters that people really, really dig with chain. I mean, I've heard 1,000 times. I just talked with a friend before I came on about the design of the character. And, he has that same view that it's a cross between, Batman, Ghost Rider, Punisher, that type of genre, because you've got chains from Ghost Rider, in the hell aspect. You've got the judge, jury, and executioner type aspect from the Punisher. Then you've got the Batman, dark cape and Dark Knight type of vigilante aspect of it. And, it just always sticks with me for some reason. I remember my favorite arc of Spawn was literally the Angela storyline, and where he fell out of hell and came back into where he fell out of heaven, after the Batman Spawn Batman crossover that McFarlane and Miller did. And he had the shoelace in his face that just showed up in the comic, and you had to read that book to figure it out. That arc was awesome because when he fell out of heaven, where the Angela series ended, and the Batman series, the Batman's graphic novel crossover hit, that was a big run for me because that's where that cop, he fell into the park or the yard, and this boy finds him. If you haven't read it, spoiler alert. This boy finds him, this little blonde-headed boy with a wagon, and he's taking him home, and he's not supposed to be out after school, and his dad's an abusive dad and a cop, and whatnot, and all this mess, and he ends up abusing the kids while Spawn is hiding out in the shed, and Spawn realizes what's going on, and then stamps the dad, and I won't go any further than that, but he just brands him to where he will never forget not to be abusive. And then the story moves on harshly from there, which I won't, like I said, I won't spoil it any further than that. But yeah, that was a very, very diverse story in comparison to what most comic book stories would tell. I mean, that thing was like for lack of a better term, it was like watching a Law and Order episode in a comic book format play out. It was really deep stuff. And if you guys have never seen that, you may want to go back and check those issues. The mid-20s, early 30s, right around in there. Or you can get the Spawn Origins trade and check that out. And like I said, I'm not tied to them by any means, but it's just a book that I enjoy. Check out Origins volume number 1, and it's in there. And you can check that out for yourselves. But I tell you, man, that was one of the stories where Greg took over, and it had a totally different feel to it. I mean, it was, like I said, like watching Law and Order. It was one of the most mature comics that I've read in a while. And until this day, I still haven't read much that holds up to it. So, let's see here. I've got this going on. I want to do this side. Let's get this going here. Now, when I ink this up, this is going to be a cool one because it's going to really pop off with those solid blacks. It'll push all of this out, all this gradation, and it's going to make it stand up even brighter. I'll get my big knuckles out of the way here in just a second. I thought I wanted to trim that out, but I'm just going to go right down to it. I'm going to put a very thin top of the bicep right there to where it's like cutting over and leaning in front. And then this strap right here, because this isn't metal, you have to be careful not to make it look metallic. Put a couple more right in here. Shows that classic gradation. It's very simple shading right through here, just a few lines, space them out so they don't look completely uniform and overwhelm it. And right here on the edge, I'm going to trim that out just a little with a little black, just to make it look like the design wrapped around just a little, and to set out that arm. So I can do this. I know it's a highlight right underneath this hard curve right here, so I'm going to darken that down a little. I'm laying in these shading marks so that I can do, like I said, the blacks and still leave the color where it needs to be. So we've about got this. I'm doing way more detail on this one than I really originally wanted to, but it needs it. It's due diligence to Spawn and needs to be done. A lot of people will be shipping off because it's like, you're taking too long. Switch to the 9 here so we can map this out. Pretty heavy. Marking up that edge a little. Build that out. Taking a little more time with this one because, like I said, I just wanted it to be as proper as possible. Let's see here. And too bad Spawn and Angela don't work together anymore. But there was a dispute with Neil Gaiman that went as far as a court hearing to get that character, you know, It's pretty deep when you think about it, how all that went down. But that's comics for you. You know, that's a professional creation situation where people just have to do that kind of thing. Now I'm going to get back into drawing some of this detail in here and getting a little grittier look. Going to try and not overwork this too much, though. Just a couple of aspects that I really want to touch base on, which is making his face express and emote through this mask. A lot of people overwork the Deadpool mask too, and it's just, don't do that. Stop it. There we go. Cool deal. I want to kind of give that ridge look to where the brow extends just over the dark part of the eye, because he's got the black mask look around his eyes, around his eyelids and such. I just wanted to make sure of what was going on there. That's what that is. It's little bits from where I was erasing earlier, where I was working on a page right before I came on. I should have used my air can and blew the desk off here. Let's see. I think we've about got it. I don't want to work it too much more than that. Put in a couple of little marks like this to shake that up a little. Kind of like I did the stonework in Gray Skull and the Ram's Head for Skeletor. Let's see here. Drawing a couple of lines to break this up a little bit. Okay. Come in right here. Just like that. That differentiates that cape just a little from where it crosses over. And then we have this fold right here. Very cool. That's going to prominently separate that right there. Ding. And we're going to have this going on right up over here on this cut. Make it look like the fabric's bowing out a little. And then cut it in this way to show it's folding back. Like that. Now we have the Spawn. Hope you guys dig it. Know this went on a little bit long, but thank you for stopping by and checking it out. And I am going to start working on getting this inked up and colored up and whatnot, so we can get all of that going on. And I will be back with you guys tomorrow for another one. Please stop back by tomorrow and check out what I've got for you. I'm going to post some new stuff. And also got that Godzilla King Kong piece that I'm working on, which I'm going to, like I said, I keep showing it, threatening to show you guys. I'm going to have to get this thing out there and show it to you. As soon as I get these books on Amazon, I will. And I told you we're going to do that the later part of this week. We definitely are. So hang tight for that. Catch you later. Take care. And talk to you tomorrow.